Well, hello everyone and welcome to the 7th tutorial in the set of tutorials about the program Adobe Flash CS4. This is the last tutorial in the range of tutorials that we created for the first year of Saxion Art and Technology. Today we're going to do two small examples because this is the last tutorial and you need some time in this lesson to finish your work. First thing I'm going to show you is how to import sound into Flash. So how to use an MP3 file using Flash, which is pretty simple. We already loaded video into Flash and we already loaded an image into Flash. So this is actually the last step. Let's open our ActionScript here. I'm not going to edit anything in the screen. I'm just going to show you a small example of how this works. First things first, you don't need to import anything for sound because sound already is in the Flash syntax, so you don't need to import it first like with the loader. Perhaps you don't remember, but the loader you needed to import by adding an import syntax here in the top. The same goes for the FLV playback. You need to add a syntax here in the top to use all the ActionScript related to this object. But for the sound it's already in there, so we don't need to add anything. So that's nice. Let's start with declaring our variables. We're going to use a variable of the type sound. So let's start with that. Start with your sound variable. I'm going to call it my sound. And it's of the type sound. And of course you're going to create it by creating a new sound in here. There's a lot of settings here that you don't need to edit. We're going to edit them later in the init phase of our file. So just close it by adding a bracket here and then you're finished. Okay, so we need to refer to the place where the sound file is actually located. So I'm going to add that syntax in here. And this is of course done with an URL request like we did with the image loader and the FLV playback. The same goes for the sound playback, so let's add an URL request in here and let's just call it sound request. It's of the type URL request and it's a new URL request. Opening bracket, and in here you're gonna place the URL where your sound is located. In my case that's the folder sound. And in there's an MP3 file called Seagull. Don't ask. It's an animal. So add the URL to the MP3 file and close it by closing bracket and a dot comma of course. So now one important thing about the sound object. The sound object contains multiple channels, so you can make, for instance, a sound mixer. You can mix multiple sounds through each other. And in total you have 32 channels, and for every channel you want to use you need to create a new variable. It's a variable of the type sound channel, and we're going to create it here in our ActionScript of course, just below the sound variable. I'm going to call it sound channel 1 because it's my first channel, and it's of the type sound channel, and it equals a new sound channel. Nothing between the brackets, just open and close them. As you can see, I don't get any code hints while opening or closing, so there's nothing here in between the brackets. Of course, again, I can't point out often enough that you can find the help of the sound object just by double clicking it, right clicking it with your mouse and selecting view help. You will go to Internet Explorer and it will open all of the properties. When you go move down, all of the properties of the sound object. The sound object is a really cool object, especially in ActionScript 3. For instance, you can read the ID3 info tags, which is actually the information about the MP3 file you're playing. For instance, the title, or perhaps the artist if you want to know the artist of the MP3 file. After reading this info, of course, you can place it in a text box. And for instance, you can make an MP3 player. You also have options like bytes loaded and bytes total to make a preloader. just like you have with the image loader or the UI loader component and the FLV loader component. You also have some other options, just go through them. One really cool option is that you can read the volume of your MP3 file, and you can make some nice visualizations with that. For instance, if you know where the bass is of a track, you know, like boom, 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 boom. Hey, that I can do that for you. You can record that sample if you want. If you know where the bass is of a track, you can make a nice visualization for it in Flash, which is a really cool option. So next step would be my init phase, and in my init phase I want my sound to load. So let's start with that. My sound dot load, just like with the UI loader and the FLV playback component. Then it asks for your request that you just created here, which is of course my sound request. I'm going to place that here between the brackets, and now my sound is loaded. It's as easy as that. Now to play it, there's a trick. Of course I want to use sound channel 1 to play my sound. And how am I going to do that? Well, start with sound channel variable, sound channel 1. And then you're going to use the equal sign. And I'm going to say my sound dot play. So actually I'm telling Flash that I want to play the sound in the first channel. So if you want a second sound, just add a new sound request and add a new sound channel and add a new my sound variable, and you can play the second sound in the second channel. So that's pretty easy. So as I already told you, you can mix 32 sounds through each other. In ActionScript 2 there was only 6 channels, but in ActionScript 3 they added like, what is it, 26 channels to that. So if you ever run into the fact that you don't have enough channels, please call me, because it never happened to me. 32 channels is a lot, it's really a lot, so I think that will work out fine. So when you press Ctrl Enter now, it should start playing your sound. As you can hear, this is the sound of a seagull, which I downloaded from the internet. Of course it's in my init phase, so it will start playing immediately when I press Ctrl Enter. That's it for the sound object. After this I'm going to show you some examples, and then we will build a menu.